This section is going to talk about how to hire a tuition grant student. So again, we're going to go to the CSU Custom menu, CSU Custom Grad menu, Use Grad Hire. When we get to this menu, we have the ability to search for a current contract, or in this case, since we're going to create a tuition grant, we're going to create a new contract. So we click on the Add New Value tab. We're going to click on the Add button since the contract number we're going to be working with is a new contract. At this point, we have the four tabs indicating the funding that's going to be used for this tuition grant, either the first set of tuition grant funding accounts and or the second set if we need it, and then the duties that are going to be assigned to this tuition grant student. So what we're going to do is we're going to enter the student. It will populate the information, their name, their address, phone number, etc. And what we're going to pick is the contract type. As I said, there are two different types of contract types. There's either a graduate assistant or a tuition grant. So what we're going to do is we're going to select tuition grant. We're going to select the term that this student is going to be receiving their tuition grant, which is spring semester. And we pick their level, which is a grad student. You notice that they're enrolled for 6 hours and their GPA is listed here. So their tuition grant is going to pay for the 6 hours. They are going to be doing 10 hours of service work. And then the next thing we have to do is, since this is a tuition grant, we go to the grad funding account to identify the accounts that are going to be used to pay the student's tuition, which is their scholarship, and the accounts that are going to be used to pay their taxable wage. So what we need to do is select their funding account. So I'm going to do biogeology. I'm going to specify their tuition account. The tuition account is going to be the bio-geo-environmental science. 100% of this tuition grant is going to be paid for by this tuition account. The next thing you have to do is you have to identify the tuition or the total award for this tuition grant. So in this case, we're going to pay $6,000 in this tuition grant. And what it does is it goes through and calculates the tuition account amount, which is $49.20, and it calculates the taxable wage amount. Taxable wage amount is actually 180 times the number of credit hours the student is taking, up to $1,200. So this could be $1,200 listed here, and the rest of it is put towards their scholarship or their tuition account. So what we do is we identify the funding department and their taxable wage account. So we'll use the 52 account. This identifies that 100% is going to be paid from this specific taxable wage account. With these contracts, we have to identify a budget approver. This budget approver is the one that's going to actually look at this contract and identify if the funds are there and approve it. So we do a lookup. It identifies the people who are next in line to do the budget approval. And the next person that's listed on our screens is who is the supervisor. So it identifies the supervisor. If this is PIA and the PIA needs to approve this funding to make sure that that funding is in their grant, you can go through and check this requires PIA approval, which requires the PIA to approve it before the budget approval. Next thing we need to do is we need to do the grad duties. In this case, this student is going to be doing 100% teaching. They're going to be at CSU and they're teaching Bio 101, Section 51. So this identifies the duties that this student will be doing. We have nothing in the grad funding 2 because we did 100% of all of the funds on this first page. If we did make this 50%, you'll see that half of the 1080 is put on the first page. The second half of that is put onto the second page, which you'll have to identify what the funding department and taxable wage is. So I'm going to go back and set that to 100%. Now this student is available to be saved. So you can save this student and have them available for later submission. Or what we can do is we can actually just submit this student. Once you submit this student, you'll see that this student comes up as being submitted. And approval gets sent off to the person that was listed as the department approver. They'll get an email indicating they must approve this student. Next time you come into your grad hire screen, you can do a search and you'll see that 29, which is the person that we just submitted, has already been approved by the department level. If we click on that contract, you'll see it was approved on 5/11. We click on the approval grid. The approval grid will actually say that Charles Newton was the approver and they did it at 153. So this is the process that needs to be done to do a tuition grant within the PeopleSoft system.